Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's November 14th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this is time for my November video blog post. Now, as you all may or may not know, and if you're new to my video blog posts, the second Monday of every month, I do a video blog post because I think it makes our bond together a little bit closer. It makes it a little bit more personal than just reading my written words. But there is a blog post every Monday night at 7:30, and I do take guest blog posts, as you all know, and my email address is at the bottom of the screen here, so if you'd like to submit a topic, please feel free to do that. You could email it to me in Word format, and I'll review it and get back to you. Just so you know, I don't support any type of guest blog posts that deal with discrimination, racism, or anything like that. This is a diversified blog. Any topic you want to talk about is perfectly fine with me. And it gives me the opportunity when I get guest blog posts to focus on more of the topics that I enjoy focusing on, since the vast majority of my topics come from suggestions from readers and my subscribers. So you could also send me an email if you have a request for a specific topic you want to see me discuss. The midterms are behind us now. We all watched it on the news. We've all listened to all the campaign promises, and the choices have been made. The elections are done. Now it's time to move on. And regardless of your political affiliation, regardless of who you voted for, we now have to concentrate on shaping the next 2 years of our country until the next presidential election. Right now, there's a great deal of global unrest, inflation, crime, the border. All of these things are way out of control, and it's time that we fix these things. So whether you agree with the outcome or not, we have to support those and make sure, if you're not happy about something, you write your senator or your congressman and let them know about it. This is where we, the people, have our voice, and this is how our voice is heard. Peacefully, respectfully, and properly. Not through any means of violence. So with all of that said, and also the Thanksgiving holiday is coming, so I want to make sure everybody knows that I wish you all a safe, healthy, and enjoyable Thanksgiving holiday with your family. Now on to tonight's topic, which is a very controversial topic. And I say all the time, I'm not worried about controversial topics because I'll talk about anything. There's an old saying, if you were kids and you were driving around in your car listening to music and someone says, I hate that song or whatever, you say, you know what, turn the volume control counterclockwise till it clicks, and then you don't have to listen to it. You don't have to agree with my opinions. I just ask you to respect them as I respect yours. Although most of my blog topics are pretty much factual based, and you can't argue with facts because facts are a representation of the truth. And the truth is what matters here. And there's a huge issue with crime, and there's a huge issue with morality. But before I continue and we discuss this, let's briefly kind of define some things. A crime against morality is, I'm going to actually read the definition to you. Morality is defined as a descriptive account of social and personal values about the ways people in society behave. The type of crime generally offends those values or code of conduct. This type of crime may include, but is not limited to, prostitution, bigamy, pornography, illegal gambling, illegal drug use, etc. Crime in itself, when it deals with the law, is when the law is broken. That becomes a criminal offense. And there's laws, and there's a trial process, innocent till proven guilty, and there's a process to find out whether the law has been broken, and then a judge passes down a sentence. It's kind of straightforward. Although it always doesn't work that way, and it doesn't really seem fair, because some people feel that the judge who has the ability to follow the guidelines, but not necessarily inflict the sentence as the guidelines reflect, it's up to the judge's discretion, let's put it that way, as to the severity of the crime will determine the severity of the sentence. Problem is when you have different beliefs and different judges, then we have to start questioning, is the sentencing and are the laws, especially with no bail and so on and so forth, are they fair, are they equal, and are they just? And are they applied equally against all people, regardless of race, color, religious beliefs, ethnic background, or political preferences? I don't know, in fact, if that's actually true. Actually, to be quite honest with you, I don't believe it is true. I believe that the justice system is broken to some degree and needs to be fixed. With that being said, now we have crimes against morality. So we're talking about something different than someone robbing a bank or murdering somebody or some type of law that is actually on the books. Now, in some states, prostitution, like Las Vegas, might be, in Nevada, might be legal. I don't know anywhere where bigamy is legal. And obviously, everybody knows that illegal gambling is illegal. But we're talking about a different type of moral crime here. Okay? There are laws against child abuse. And, actually I wanted to do this before, so I'm actually going to do this right now. It's the nice part about having so many screens in front of you that you could, that you can deal with. So, child abuse or neglect basically means some type of physical injury, neglect, mental injury, sexual abuse, sexual exploitation, or maltreatment of a child under the age of 18 by a person under circumstances that indicate the child's health or welfare is harmed or threatened. Now think about that. And I'm not going to waste another 30 seconds repeating, because I think you all know what abusing a child means. I pose this question to you to think about. And I'm going to make a little disclaimer first. And I want to make this disclaimer perfectly clear. I totally 100% respect and support the right of any adult who is in their proper frame of mind, and I'll repeat that, in their proper frame of mind, to choose their life however they choose to live it. Whether they are homosexual, whether they are lesbian, whether they believe in cross-dressing, I don't care what it is. They have a right to live their life the way they want. However, they don't have the right to force that or impress that upon other people. Live your life the way you want, and let other people live their lives the way they want. Now, this works really well in a world of consenting adults. Someone in the proper frame of mind that is old enough and mature enough and is at a legal age to make these decisions for themselves. I've written many, many blog posts and referred to it in many of my blog posts about child development and how their mind develops at certain ages. It is an undisputable fact that at young ages, such as pre-K, kindergarten, the first few grade levels a child goes through, their mind simply does not have the ability to both comprehend and understand what is being taught to them. I was actually watching a news media station about a week and a half ago back, and there was a specific, and I don't remember the city, the state, or whatever, but it was a club that was sponsoring a drag queen event. And I'm fine with that. Anybody who's a drag queen, go to it. Have yourself a good time. I'm all for that. However, what I am not for is all minors were invited. In other words, bring your children as long as they're with a parent. Well, we have to understand something, all right? We're presenting something to children that they're not going to understand. When they're at a very young age, they don't even understand their own sex, the difference between what a male is and what a female is. Okay, now my granddaughter at her age, I do not want her using a restroom and having a man who identifies himself as a woman using that restroom at the same time she is. There are definitive physical differences. Okay? Now, I pose this question to you. With all the debates and all the concerns as to what's going on with children, young children in schools today, and what teachers in the education system is impressing upon them by mandatory reading in the classroom environment, and so on and so forth, and some states even wanting to pass laws where a child could be taken away from their legal parents if their parents do not affirm their gender choice. Now, this is a gender choice that a 5 or a 6-year-old can make. Now, I don't know how many of you have raised children. I know I raised 3, and I remember them growing up in great detail, as I'm sure you all do. And I could tell you now that at those young ages, my children were not able to comprehend that. And they certainly were not able to make an informed decision about that, what they wanted to be. Whether they wanted to identify themselves as a man or as a woman. The science is very clear on some of the puberty blockers that are used and the harm that they cause. There's already many documented cases of children who are now older that are suffering from mental disorders due to this. So this is a culture. The news media calls it the woke culture. I'm not going to use terms like woke and so on and so forth. I'm going to call it what it is, all right? It's out of control. That's the bottom line. It is out of control, all right? Unless the parents themselves are neglecting their own children, no board of education, no teacher, no government entity, as far as I am concerned, has the right to tell a parent how to raise their child and at what age their child should be presented with certain facts about life. Now, for decades, more than decades, children were growing up without this culture in school and were doing just fine. They were learning their basic skills. Our academic achievements for our children were outstanding, very close to number one in the global community. And we have now slipped way down. Now, did the pandemic have something to do with that? Yes. The real question here is, what do Board of Educations have the right to indoctrinate our children into in the school environment? Personally, besides the basic skills, I don't think they have the right to indoctrinate them to anything. They will reach a certain age where they take Bio 1, Bio 2. They're going to learn about the birds and the bees, as we used to call it years ago. They're going to learn about sexual preferences. They're going to learn about all of this in real life. If they reach a certain age where they have questions about gender identity, if they express that to the school, to their teacher, the teacher has a moral duty and a right to contact the parents, and then the parents take that over. It is not up to the school systems to, in my opinion, and this is strictly my opinion, to impress these ideologies, these cultural beliefs onto our children at young ages, especially in pre-K or kindergarten. These are kids that are learning how to put a triangle block into a triangular hole or a square block into a square hole. Their mind is not developed to the point where they could comprehend or understand these complicated issues. Besides the fact that we could be introducing thoughts to their mind, into their minds that aren't there. Okay? So the question is this the crime against morality? Think about that for a minute. Okay? We've already talked about the fact of what crimes against morality are. I gave you that definition. And that fits that definition. So in states such as Florida, where Governor Ron DeSantis has banned this type of thing in school, I support him 100%. I do not support the federal government's position on this and most of the school systems and boards of education that promote this. We could be doing far more harm than we are good. You know, we've all heard terminology such as, let nature take its course. People still say that. I remember hearing that when I was a kid. If a child grows up, and as they're growing up, they have identity issues, what we should be promoting is for them not to fear that and go to their parents with that. And we should be educating our parents not to throw Johnny behind the barn because he comes to you in an identity crisis. Because that's the way it was years ago. Parents did not want to accept their son being homosexual or their daughter being a lesbian. All right? It was an embarrassment. Well, times have changed. So this is an education process. But I believe the vast majority of that education has to be in educating the parents and educating the school systems. This has to be a partnership between the school system, the parents, and possibly their family physician. We have to teach the children that they cannot or they should never be afraid to go to their parents with these types of questions. We should not be introducing it to them in the classroom. And we certainly should not be taking them to events that they are not going to understand. To them, it's like a joke. They see a drag queen. To them, it's like going to the circus and seeing a clown. They don't know any better. Now we cause confusion. And when their hormones do kick in, now we introduce mental disorders and problems into their life. Problems that will affect them the rest of their life. So as I said earlier, people have a right to choose the lifestyle that they want, and I support that 100%. Once they're in an age where they could understand it and comprehend it and understand the consequences. Not in an age where they do not have the mental capacity to understand issues so complex. So, can this be considered child abuse? I guess one might say in a form, yes. Maybe some may think it does not. But if we are allowing our school systems to do anything that could affect a child's health or welfare, that falls under the definition of child abuse. Remember, child abuse doesn't have to be physical. There doesn't have to be any touching. There doesn't have to be anything like that involved. It could be mental. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is a crime against morality, and I do consider it a form of child abuse. As a father, if my children were young, and I have grandchildren in school, if that was happening in their classroom, I would be the first one through the door at the Board of Education. You could cancel me, you could do whatever the hell you want to do to me. All right? And I think if it gets to a point where the school systems don't do it, and parents want to pull their kids out of school and put them into a parochial school or a private school, then yes, they should get a tax rebate. I'm 100% for that. Because most cities will tell you the majority of the taxes that we pay to a city goes towards education. Well, if my child is not using the education system, then I should get a tax credit for that. All right? This is not a situation when it comes to crimes against morality that we let any entity have carte blanche and do whatever it is they want. Now, that also is determined by what you, ladies and gentlemen, feel is moral and what your values are. All right? If you're fine with it, and if you're fine with children being presented this information at such a young age, then it should be you, the parents, that present it, not the school system. Because in that classroom of 25 or 30 kids, you have 25 and 30 sets of parents that think differently. It is not the school system's job to be biased and introduce anything into the classroom that other parents might be objectionable to. So the best thing to do is not put it in the school systems. Let nature take its course. Let biology take its course. Let science take its course. Reading, writing, arithmetic. The skills that our children are going to need to survive when they get older and to be successful. And train our teachers to get the parents involved if they feel there's a problem. And not have teachers going to work dressed inappropriately to try and impress their thoughts and their beliefs upon the children in that classroom. That is not their right. That is not their job. They are there to educate in the primary skills that for decades we have been teaching to our children and has worked successfully. So you can determine for yourself what is a crime against morality. But remember, when you make that choice or when you make that decision for your child, you have to understand that there's many other children in that classroom, as I stated earlier, and you don't have the right to make that choice for those other children. So the easiest way to solve this problem is don't put it in the school systems where it does not belong and leave it up to the parents at home. Leave it up to the parents at home to choose what they want their children to know and understand and when they want them to learn about that. Not up to a school system. So crimes against morality are much different than crimes against criminal law. Totally different. But equally as important, and maybe in some cases, or actually in most cases more important, because our children are the future. Whether we want to admit it to ourselves or not, someday we're going to be long gone. They are going to be the future. They are going to be the future that runs this country. They're going to be the future that raises their families. And then their kids are going to raise their families. It's the cycle of life. It's what goes on decade after decade after decade. So you have to think. You have to think that you're not just making a decision for today. You're making a decision for tomorrow and for years to come. And what's most important is this. Are you going to allow your children to be confused to the point that it causes them mental distress as they get older? I'm sure you've seen many of the interviews on TV of children that have taken these puberty blockers and the problems that they've had socially, emotionally, and mentally. This is not the answer, ladies and gentlemen. These are crimes against morality. And I say morality in general. And why do I use the terminology in general? And I define that in a blog post a few weeks ago. In general basically means what is accepted to be considered normal by the majority of the general population. And the general population does not agree with this. This is a huge issue. A huge issue. One that needs to be nipped in the bud before any further damage is done to our children, to our grandchildren, and to future generations. There's an old saying is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There were some things that were broke. The years of people with different sexual preferences in same-sex marriages not being allowed to be open and public about that and live their lives the way they wanted to live them, that was a broken system. We have now fixed that. But let's not fix that and cause another problem at the same time. With that, that's my thoughts on crime versus morality. Again, you don't have to agree. You could disagree or whatever you choose. Just respect my opinion as I respect yours. With that, I wish you all be safe, stay well, be healthy, and remember 3 things. Live with your heart, live with your mind, and live your best life. Good night, God bless, and God bless America. Thank you.